Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and Kenya adopt a vision statement on maritime cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. The African country explores trading in national currency and giving land to Indian companies for farming. Cyclone Michaung makes landfall in India. Andhra Pradesh on high alert. Tamil Nadu declares a holiday. And India's Home Minister Amit Shah moves the Jammu and Kashmir Reservation Amendment Bill 2023 and the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2023 in the Lok Sabha. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday announced India's decision to give $250 million to Kenya for modernization of its agriculture sector. The 5 MOUs were exchanged following in a number of areas, including sports, information technology and education, following his wide-ranging talks with visiting Kenyan President William Ruto.
आईटेक तथा आईसीसीआर स्कॉलरशिप के माध्यम से भारत के केनिया के लोगों की स्किल डेवलपमेंट और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है। 2 कृषि प्रधान अर्थव्यवस्थाओं के रूप में हमने अपने अनुभव साझा करने पर सहमति जताई। केनिया के कृषि क्षेत्र का आधुनिकीकरण करने के लिए हमने $250 मिलियन की लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट प्रदान करने का भी निर्णय लिया है। आधुनिक समय की जरूरतों के अनुसार हम टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन में अपना सहयोग बढ़ा रहे हैं। डिजिटल पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में भारत की उपलब्धियों को केनिया के साथ साझा करने के लिए हम पूरी तरह से तैयार हैं। इस महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर आज किए जा रहे समझौते से हमारे प्रयासों को बल मिलेगा।
Appreciating India's digital prowess, Kenya's President William Ruto said that Kenya has a lot to learn from India. He said that he has sent Kenya's Minister of Information and Communication Technology to India to learn about digital ID and digitizing of government services.
I have congratulated Prime Minister Modi for successfully hosting the G20 and for successfully championing the cause of the African people, the 1.4 billion people in our continent, that today, because of Prime Minister Modi's engagement and championship, the African Union is now a member of the G20. I have also congratulated Prime Minister Modi for his leadership in the Global South and for summoning us in the Global South to the Voice of the Global South Summit that I was privileged to attend virtually.
A special briefing on the state visit of President of Kenya to India was held today in India's capital, New Delhi. During the press briefing, Secretary Economic Relations Damu Ravi of India said that President Ruto's visit to India is happening after a successful Voice of the Global South Summit.
In the field of trade and investment, again, it's been quite encouraging. The bilateral trade is about $3.3 billion. A significant part of it is India's exports there. Kenya imports about 116 million. And the investments from India's side is about 3.2 billion. About 200 Indian companies are actively present in Kenya.
The High Commissioner of India to Kenya, Namgyal Khampa, said Kenya has shown interest in trading in national currencies.
The joint maritime vision statement is really a recognition that as Indian Ocean littoral states, maritime exchanges and the maritime space has been a key part of our past, but also our future cooperation. And so we're looking at pillars under economic and connectivity exchanges. We're looking at maritime security, and Secretary referred to counterterrorism, threats and challenges from the maritime domain that we can work on together with Kenya. We're looking at capacity building, and we're also looking at this entire bucket of issues around blue economy. And there's a lot of convergence in how we can progress on fleshing out these ideas, and the joint maritime vision statement, in a sense, provides us a blueprint to take it forward.
And Amritpal Singh joins us from New Delhi for more on the India-Kenya talks. Amrit, what can you tell us about the agreement signed after the talks between the leaders of India and Kenya in New Delhi?
Ramesh, there were 4 agreements that were signed between the leaders of India and between the two sides, basically. One in the field of sports, the other in the field of culture for cultural exchange programs from 2023 to 27 window. There was, of course, a memorandum signed between the Bureau of Indian Standards and the Kenyan Bureau Standards. And there was another one, there were 5 signed actually. There was one between the IGNU and that's the Indira Gandhi National University, National Open University, and the Open University of Kenya for distant partnership and distant education. And one important agreement in the field of cooperation, in the field of successful digital solutions implemented on population scale for digital transformation. So basically a wide range of agreements were signed. Apart from that, these were the formal agreements signed, but there was, the two sides spoke about a lot of cooperation when it comes to, say, maritime cooperation, especially in the Indian Ocean region, looking at cooperation when it comes at issues that they take joint stands or where their positions converge on climate change. For example, they're joining the Biofuel Alliance, they're expressing the, and also the International Solar Alliance. So there were a lot of agreements between the two sides on where their interests converge. Formally, these 5 agreements were signed, Ramesh.
Amrit, talk to us, if you will, on India and Kenya adopting a vision statement, a joint vision statement on maritime cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. Also, Kenya, we are told, is interested in trading with India using national currencies and giving land to Indian companies for farming.
That's right. Okay, first about the vision document on maritime cooperation. The two sides essentially, because both of them are maritime powers, they are maritime neighbors. So it is but natural that they would want to collaborate in terms of maritime cooperation, especially in the Indian Ocean region. The key pillars on which they wish to cooperate in the vision that they have jointly agreed on is boosting maritime trade and industry, advancing maritime security, given that piracy, illegal fishing, or securing the region is important of the Indian Ocean region, accelerating connectivity between the two sides. That means more calls, in-ship calls, or more ports of call for the shipping, between the two countries. Of course, improved information sharing, and of course to boost the commerce, because important sea lanes pass through the Indian Ocean region. So that's what their vision document on maritime cooperation includes. As far as the local trading in local currency, they've expressed, both Kenya and India, expressed interest in that. As you know, India is doing that with a few other nations and would want the advantages of it in terms of trade and your dependence upon international currencies or so-called designated international currencies reduces. So both sides did talk about it. to take it further, though the exact mechanism has to be agreed upon in future talks. And then on the collective farming, they agreed to or they offered to give land to Indian companies because, as you know, under the 250 million line of credit that India announced today to extend to Kenya for agricultural innovation and improvement of agriculture. This is a key part of that Indian companies who have the technology go, do farming, they learn, use more effective and efficient methods of farming, and both Kenya and India benefit from it. Ramesh.
All right, Amrit, we leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Amrit Pal Singh reporting there on the India-Kenya talks that were held in New Delhi. In some other news, India's Minister of Minority Affairs, Smriti Irani, and India's Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, on Tuesday met Saudi Arabia's Minister of Hajj and Umrah, Dr. Tawfiq bin Fawzan Al Rabia, in New Delhi. They decided to strengthen collaboration and streamline services for the Hajj and Umrah performers. Now, during the briefing, India's Minister of Minority Affairs, Smriti Irani, said 4,000 women went for the Hajj and Umrah without the mahram, meaning a male companion.
I would like to highlight to my friends in the media and Excellency, to your kind self, that we are deeply appreciative of the help that we have received from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for extending special help and cooperation for the smooth conduct of Hajj, not only every year, but also particularly in the Hajj 2023, where close to 47% of our pilgrims who embarked on Hajj from India were women.
And India's Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, in turn said that Hajj is an important aspect of bilateral relationship between India and Saudi Arabia.
The visit of His Excellency will bolster the overall bilateral partnership between the two countries. Importantly, the visit will be useful in charting the course for Hajj 2024 in an efficient and smoother way. Hajj pilgrimage is an important aspect of bilateral relationship between India and Saudi Arabia. The continuous success of Hajj pilgrimage undertaken by our citizens is a testament to the strong commitment made by both countries.
All right, moving on. It's now been 4 days since the one-week temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas lapsed, and the Israeli military is now advancing southward in the Gaza Strip. Israeli government spokesperson said they expect difficult fighting in the new phase of war in Gaza, but they're open to quote-unquote constructive feedback on minimizing harm to civilians as long as there is consistent advice on its aim of destroying the Hamas. Israeli tanks and other armored vehicles are reported to be operating close to Khan Yunis, the largest city in southern Gaza. The intensified strikes come after having largely gained control of the now devastated north. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes targeted Hezbollah launch sites, a military compound, and what the Israeli army referred to as terror infrastructure, as shown in a video footage released on Tuesday. The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the U.S. will continue to press for the release of all hostages held by Hamas in Gaza.
We're still talking about trying to find a way forward on hostages. We're talking about sustaining and expanding the humanitarian assistance, making it into Gaza. Right now, Hamas is refusing to release civilian women who should have been part of the agreement. And it is that refusal by Hamas that has caused the end of the hostage agreement and therefore the end of the pause in hostilities.
Gulf leaders are in Qatar's capital Doha to attend the annual Gulf Cooperation Council Summit on Tuesday. During the meeting, Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani called on the UN Security Council to force Israel to return to the negotiating table over the war in Gaza. The Kremlin spokesperson has confirmed that Russia's President Vladimir Putin will visit the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia on Wednesday. The Kremlin spokesperson added that President Putin will also host Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi in Moscow on Thursday. Now, Putin's visit comes after OPEC Plus agreed last Thursday to voluntarily supply cuts totaling about 2.2 million barrels a day, a move met with skepticism by the oil markets. When asked if Putin would discuss oil market cooperation on his Gulf trip, the spokesperson said such talks were held within the OPEC Plus group, but the issue was always on the agenda. And still to come on DD India Live. The US accuses Iran of enabling an attack on 3 ships in the Red Sea over the weekend. The US plans to deploy anti-ship missiles on submarines to counter China. And a group representing 83 Spanish media outlets files a $600 million lawsuit against Facebook owner Meta.
एक लंबे रक्तपात भरे युग का अंत धारा 370 के समाप्त होने से पहले।
For decades and decades, downtown area of Srinagar has always been symbolic of unrest, turbulence, turmoil, disturbances, and everything that has to do with the disruption.
पहले तो महीने में 20 दिन होता था हड़ताल, अब नहीं होती।
I'm right now standing in the middle of the Jama Masjid market, and this is how weekday here looks like.
दिन को होगा 1-2 करोड़ टर्नओवर है, बिल्कुल कैश टर्नओवर।
बंद क्या बंद? ये दुकान हालात तो बिल्कुल ठीक है, बिल्कुल ठीक है, कुछ नहीं होता है।
कश्मीर तो बेनजीर है, हीरा है, दंगा फसाद तो नहीं है।
The making of the Naya Kashmir or New Kashmir.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. On Monday, the White House said that the attack on 3 ships in the Red Sea over the weekend posed a threat to global peace and stability. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that Washington, D.C. has every reason to believe that these attacks are fully enabled by Iran.
This past weekend saw 4 attacks against 3 separate commercial vessels operating in international waters in the southern Red Sea. 3 vessels that are connected to 14 different nations, which goes to show you the extent to which this is truly a source of global concern and a threat to international peace and stability. We have every reason to believe that these attacks, while they were launched by the Houthis in Yemen, were fully enabled by Iran.
Meanwhile, Iran has reportedly denied involvement in any action or attack against the United States' military forces. Moving on, in a strategic move to bolster military capabilities and confront China's maritime dominance around Taiwan, the United States announced plans to equip submarines with ship-targeting versions of the Tomahawk missile known as the Maritime Strike. The deployment of the Maritime Strike Tomahawk complements the U.S. Navy's existing arsenal, aiming to address the numerical superiority of the Chinese fleet. The particular significance is the focus on defending Taiwan, a contested territory claimed by China. The island nation holds economic and strategic importance for the United States, especially concerning its semiconductor industry. The U.S. has warned that funds for Ukraine will run out by the end of the year. It says Kyiv would be kneecapped in its war against Russia if the Congress fails to approve new aid. DD India's Kate Fisher reports from Washington, D.C.
There is no magical pot of funding available. We are out of money and nearly out of time. That's the stark warning from the White House's budget director in a letter to congressional leaders, calling on them to pass President Joe Biden's request for $106 billion in emergency funding. That total also covers his other foreign policy priorities, including Israel and the Indo-Pacific. Shalanda Young said that without congressional action, the US simply will run out of money by the end of the year to procure more weapons and equipment for Ukraine and to provide equipment from US military stocks. But President Biden's funding request remains stuck in gridlock on Capitol Hill under mounting Republican opposition to helping Kyiv. Some lawmakers, especially in the Senate, where backing for Ukraine runs deeper, are trying to negotiate a bipartisan deal that would contain aid for Kyiv, alongside new immigration procedures to reduce the number of migrants arriving in the US through its southern border. But those talks appear to be faltering, and even if it gets through the Senate, it's unclear if it can pass the Republican-led House, whose new Speaker, Mike Johnson, has been sceptical of funding for Ukraine. Kate Fisher in Washington reporting for DD India.
A group representing 83 Spanish media outlets has filed a $600 million lawsuit against Facebook owner Meta Platforms. The group cited unfair competition in the advertising market in a case that could be replicated across the European Union. Meta Platforms' Meta.o paid no ad subscription service, which it rolled out in Europe this month. The lawsuit was filed collectively by the newspapers with a commercial court on Friday and alleged Meta violated EU data protection rules between 2018 and 2023. The third edition of India Internet Governance Forum, or IIGF 2023, took place in New Delhi's Bharat Mandapam on Tuesday. The event focused on digital governance and also addressed risks and challenges that may arise in the coming future in the digital global domain. Deepika Mehta reports.
Third edition of India Internet Governance Forum, or IIGF 2023, took place in New Delhi's Bharat Mandapam on Tuesday. The third edition of the IIGF was conducted under the overarching theme called Moving Forward, Calibrating Bharat's Digital Agenda. Speaking on the progress of Digital India, Minister of State for IT said that the growth of digital economy under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been exponential.
One of the important reasons for India's dramatic and sharp growth in the last 9 years, and really the transformation qualitatively and quantitatively of our economy, has been Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's focus on the digital economy. Ever since he launched the Digital India in 2015, the digital economy has grown at 2.5 times the normal economy.
The Vice President of Intel, International Government Affairs, Sarah Kemp, also participated in the event and congratulated India for their successful DPI transformation.
I'd like to compliment the government of India for its Digital India initiative, which has become a benchmark for the world. Whether it is empowering citizens with a unique identity and a digital platform to authenticate anytime, anywhere, as AADHAR, or using citizen verification and registration for good governments as the UPI system. India is home to millions of users of the internet and devices.
Speaking on India's Voice of the Global South, Amrita Chaudhary, Director, CCAOI, said that India is leaving no stone unturned to set a new benchmark in digital growth.
There are many countries, I would say the global majority, looking at India's leadership to lead the voice. Because we have the dynamics, we are progressing, we also have people who we want to connect, we want a safer, trusted internet, we want women to be there.
With day-long brainstorming and deliberations, the participants actively discussed on how to maximize internet opportunities and also addressed risks and challenges that may arise in the coming future. Deepika Mehta's report for DD India.
The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra has reached the northern region of Jammu division, where it spread information regarding the Indian government's welfare programs and schemes. It talks about the public welfare projects run by the government in rural and urban areas. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra was also held in India's northern state of Himachal Pradesh, where it spread information regarding the government's welfare programs and schemes. The ongoing campaign provides access to several public welfare projects run by the Indian government in rural and urban areas. The southern Indian coastal state of Andhra Pradesh remains on a high alert as Cyclone Michaung's landfall process has begun. Now, Cyclone Michaung is expected to hit Andhra's Bapatla as a severe cyclonic storm with a maximum speed of 100 kilometers per hour. The state government has issued an alert for 8 districts, including Tirupati, Nellore and West Godavari. A 4-year-old boy died in Tirupati district after a wall collapsed amid rains. More than 300 relief camps have been set up for people evacuated from low-lying areas. The India Meteorological Department has warned that the state's coastal areas will receive extremely heavy rainfall. And joining me is my colleague Ravi Shankar. He is in Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. Ravi Shankar, what is the situation like in Andhra Pradesh after Cyclone Michaung made landfall in the state?
Yeah, good evening. If we see this Michaung cyclone, the total 11 districts of Andhra Pradesh got affected by this cyclone. And out of these 11 districts, Krishna, Bapatla, Nellore and Tirupati, these are the 4 which was affected much more than others. And this Michaung cyclone, the landfall happened at about 1 p.m. like that in Bapatla of Andhra Pradesh. Bapatla is a district. That is the place where landfall actually happened. And it may get weakened in the past in coming 2-3 hours in Andhra Pradesh itself, as per the official said. And in the total Andhra Pradesh, at about 11 NDRF teams are working for the rehabilitation activities, you can say. And CM Jagan Reddy, today he conducted a review meeting with the disaster management officials and revenue officials, and he instructed what to do in the next coming 48 hours like that. And at about 211 rehabilitation centers all over AP has been erected, in which at about 9,000 plus public were accommodated from those flood-affected areas, you can say. And at about, if coming to the transport system, at about 315 trains got cancelled by South Central Railway, and maybe it's up to 8 of this December, the official said. And if you go through the flight systems, at about this Gannavaram airport, which is Vijayawada airport, all the flights got cancelled, whatever coming from Bangalore, Chennai, Shirdi and all the flights got cancelled. And regarding Vizag airport, at about 23 Indigo flights got cancelled. And if you go through the rainfall in Nizampatnam, which is in Bapatla district, 81 centimeters of rainfall, you can say, in the past 20 years, this is the highest rainfall possible in Nizampatnam and the surroundings also. It happened there, and from there itself, from Nizampatnam itself, at about 800 people evacuated, and they were put in 45 rehabilitation centers nearby, which is a Bapatla town. And this is the basic scenario of this Michaung cyclone in Andhra Pradesh.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Ravi Shankar in Guntur, thank you once again for your inputs. Appreciate it. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website, ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.